All right, so hopefully you can see my screen. We're going to go ahead and get started. So this came from a question somebody had in the community about building a simple slider-based conversation. So I'll show you one way to do it. Like always in Storyline, there's 15 ways, but I'll show you a simple way to start thinking about it, and then I'll show you some production tips and different things in here. So this is kind of what we're going to build here. Let's preview this. So what we have here is we have two characters, and I have a slider, and then as I drag the slider, I have the character talking. Now, what I did to keep it simple is I have the one character is going to be in a talking pose, the other character is going to be in a different pose, in this case thinking, but you can always change the poses to whatever you want them to do. Now, I also thought I would layer the boxes so that kind of have a position where I have the chat box for character one, and then here's like a box underneath to kind of imply that there's a second box, right? So when I switch, you can see this character's chat box comes up on top and this one sits on the bottom. So if I was really building this as a real course, I'd probably maybe make this a little bit more subdued, and we can do that. And so then we basically go through, and you can see it goes back and forth, and you can kind of scrub through the conversation, and then we get to the end, and they come back to the neutral pose. So you can like starting content, and then you go to 1, 2, 3, 4, and it just depends on how much you want that to go back and forth, right? And then at the end, we have some closing stuff. So we'll build this. It's actually pretty simple to build. So we'll build it. It's not going to be the most complicated things, and I'll talk through working with sliders for those who've never worked with sliders. So let's go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and save this file. It's always good to save when you're working in Storyline. So I'm going to, we'll just create a new scene here. So I'll just insert a new scene, and let's go ahead and start to build this. So I have a character. I'm going to use the same thing, the construction character. So I'm going to come up to Insert. We'll choose Characters. And you've got these pre-built characters, and I'll choose Haley, and I'll have her start facing the right. So we have Haley in here, and then I'm going to insert another character here, and we'll insert Sebastian. We'll have him face left. We'll insert that. So now we have Sebastian and Haley. I'm going to go ahead and save this. And then what I'm going to do now is put some states in here. Now, you can do whatever you want to with these. I'm going to use just the talking and another state, like a reaction state. And I'm just going to keep it 1, 2, 1, 2. You can modify the states any way you want to once you see how this is done. So we've got Haley. We're going to go to states here. We're going to edit states. I'm going to go ahead and create a new state. And you can see we've got these pre-built states here. So we know one state she's going to be talking, right? So that's her talking state. Hit done. I like to save these things as I'm going along, just because you never know when you're working with multimedia. So we're going to edit another state. Let's go ahead and add another state. And in this case, we'll do stressed, so it's a little bit exaggerated. We'll hit add, and then we have the stressed state here, right? So you can see it kind of going back and forth. And then we'll go ahead and hit done for now. All right, let's save that. Let's do the same thing with him. We'll do talking and thinking. So we're going to go ahead, insert a new state. We'll insert talking, hit add. I'll insert another new state. We'll go thinking, and we hit add, and then we'll hit done. All right, let's save that. Now what I want to do is I'll make sure they're lined up right here, right? So they're lined up. I'm going to crop this so it's a little shorter here. You don't have to crop it. I just like to crop it, and we're going to crop this up here. Just do it up to her hand, and then we'll do the same thing with him. We'll come to crop, and then we'll do his up to his hand as well. Okay, let's go ahead and resize them so they're bigger on the screen here. That looks good. You can make them a little bit bigger. We'll put them offset here. We'll leave some room for the slider. Now I'm going to save this. Let's go ahead and add a background image just so you can see how to do stuff like that. So we're going to insert image. I'm going to use the AI assistant. I like to use that illustrated design style, so I'm going to do a construction site and see what we get, like this editorial style, because it's kind of a nice contrast. You get this simple line drawing, and then we'll make it a little bit more subdued. So you can see we'll take this one, looks good, and we'll insert image. And what I'm going to do is put this to the back here. So we're going to send to back. And so now we've got that. And you can see it's a little bold here. So there's a couple things I'm going to do. One is I'm going to go to recolor. And I'm going to choose a different color. I'm going to choose this as a little off-white here. And then if you do Control-Enter, you can open up the properties for your pictures. And we'll just go ahead and do some transparency to lighten that up. All right, so got a nice light backdrop, but it doesn't take up all the space. And then we'll put our sliders going to go down here. So I'm going to add a little bar here for the slider. Do that. I'll new color pick from, or actually let me just to keep this simple, go to format. We'll just do one of these things here. Let's we'll do gray here. All right, so we've got gray. This is where our slider is going to be. To create some separation, just because of this type of image, I'm going to select these two characters. We're just going to do shape effect. We'll do a shadow. I like doing these quick tips because you can see how the different features work. We'll just do a slight drop shadow here. And that kind of creates a little separation from this backdrop. All right, now what we want to do is have the person talking. So we know we have this person talking. And while this person's talking, we know this person's listening or doing something different, right? So we basically have a 1-2 state, right? 1, 2, 1, 2, and this is going to be 1, 2, 1, 2. And I'm just using stressed because it's a little bit exaggerated, but you probably don't need to use that. All right, so if I'm going to always be in a 1, 2, whenever one of these is, like if she's talking, then he's going to be in the opposite state, right? And then the other thing is if I have a chat bubble here, it's either going to be talking or non-talking. So I can play around with the chat bubbles and just do them on one character. So to keep it simple, that's what we're going to do. So let's go ahead. Let me save again. Let's go ahead and put a chat bubble in here. So we're going to go grab a chat bubble. I'll just grab the rounded rectangle one. We'll put it up here. And let's say this looks good. We'll do this here. So this is her chatting. We'll just grab one of these. This really strong. Okay, so this is her chatting. And then we know he's going to have a chat bubble. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to offset this a bit. Oops, I did not do that right. So I'm going to offset him and copy it here. And so this one we're going to move over here, right? And let's just do this so it's a little bit more offset. All right, so when she's talking, this bubble is going to be in the back, and when he's talking, her bubble is going to be in the back. So let's go ahead and take her bubble and put it on top first. I'm going to select it. I'm going to arrange, bring it to the front. And what I'm going to do now is copy both of these. So Control C. And what we're going to do is come into her state. So I'm going to go into her talking state. And I'm going to paste those in here. So when she's talking, I know that his bubble is going to be off. So I'm just going to move that over. I'm also going to make this one a little bit off-white. So we'll make it gray so it's subdued, right? And then when she's not talking, she's going to be in this state. So we'll just paste it here. So we don't have to do them on both states or on both characters. We're going to put this one, send that to the back. And we're going to get rid of the tail. And the other thing we're going to do is the same fill. So now we know it's either she's going to be talking or she's going to be listening, responding to him. So that's done. So we don't need to do that on both characters because it's going to be one or the other, right? So now let's go ahead and add the slider. Insert, and then we're going to select sliders. Now, if you've never worked with the slider, just select it and draw it on the screen. The slider is made of two parts. So there's a thumb right here, and then there's this track. And you can see that up here. If you look at the format, there's a thumb settings and your track. And the slider moves left and right. And it represents a number range. If you come to the design tab, you can see 0 to 10. I'm not going to go through every possible thing you can do with sliders in today's session, but I want you to know that we have a lot of good training and a lot we can show on sliders and different tutorials and whatnot. So you can watch those things. I'll walk through the basics so you'll get the gist of it. This is simple interaction, but if you do want to learn more about sliders, definitely recommend watching that. Okay, so the slider is going to go left and right, and it's going to change a number from 0 to 10. That number is a variable, so the reason it's a variable is because it varies based on you sliding it. So you have a value in it, and as you slide it, it changes that value. By default, because we inserted the slider, it gave it a variable. So this was the second slider in this demo. So I'm just going to call this conversation. So that's the name of the variable, so I know what it is. And so when I click in here, I can see, oops, let me select my slider. I can see that's tied to the conversation variable. It goes from 0 to 10. So at this end, it's 0. At this end, it's 10. And as the slider moves, it's going to go, we can see it's a step count. It's going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So what we want to do is when it's on 1, it's going to be her talking. When it's on 2, it's going to be him talking. Let's go ahead and get rid of these. We don't need these because we have them on the character. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, like that. So what we can do is we know we already have our states here, right? So what we're going to do is we're going to say, change the state of the character when it reaches 1. So let's go ahead and add a trigger. What do I want to do? I want to change the state of character 1. I'm going to set that character to talking. So she's going to be talking. When the slider moves, which slider? This is slider 1. If its value is equal to 1. So when it's equal to 1, she's going to move to that talking state. And there you go. All right, and then when it's equal to 2, we want him to go to talking state and vice versa. So what we're going to do is let's go ahead. We know every time it's equal to 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9, she's going to be in the talking state. And then the even numbers will be him. Up to 10. 10 will keep it neutral. 0 will keep it neutral. So we have this trigger that says set the state of character to talking when the slider moves if its value is equal to 1. I'm going to double click on this and open it back up. Then I'm going to duplicate this. And you can see, I'm going to say if it's 1 or if it's equal to the value of 3, right? So I can duplicate this. So we want 5, 7, 9. So 5, 7, and 9. Make sure it says or, because when I was practicing this, I kept forgetting to change it to or, and it would say and, so it would have to be and 1, and 3, and 5. So nothing was working. So make sure you're reading this. So if it's a value of 1 or 3 or 5 or 7 or 9. So what we're going to see is we're not going to see it changing because she's always going to be at that, but she should change when we're doing that. So if she's changing to this state, the talking state at 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, what we could do is we could duplicate this trigger. We're going to duplicate it and we're going to paste it, and we're going to say change this character, and I think we use stressed, right? To stressed when slider 1 moves if it's equal to 2, 4, 6, 8. She's going to get the last word in, so we'll get rid of 9. All right, so now what we should see is she's going to go toggle back and forth. 1, 2, and see, you can see we didn't even have to do anything with his character yet, right? We put everything on her, and you can see it kind of goes back and forth. And this is a really simple interaction, but you know, it's kind of cool. It's really easy to build, and then you can swap out your characters. All right, so we've got that. Now we want his state to change when her state changes. So instead of doing all of this with his triggers, we can just say, change the state of character 2. And we'll say, set the state of character 2 to thinking, I think is what his second state was, when the state of character 1 is equal to talking. Hit OK, and we can duplicate this and paste it. So set the state of character 2 to talking when the state of character 1 is stressed, or whatever you want that one to be, right? So if we preview this, we basically put everything on one character and did all the triggers, and here we're just, this character is just reacting to this one. So you got that, then he says something, she says something, he says something, she says something, he says something. Now if you want to, like at some point, maybe he gets really angry, right? So let's say, what is it, at the last one here, 8, 9, maybe at 9 he gets really angry. So you could say, you know, change the state of character 2 to angry, because these are pre-built, when, and you could just say when the slider moves, if slider 1 is equal to the value of 9. And now you can quickly modify that, right, once you've got those triggers built up. So there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So pretty cool. And then what I would do is at 0, we want to start in neutral. So let's go ahead and we'll say change the state of character 1, set that to normal when, and I'll say when variable changes, and we'll say if the slider 1, which is not the variable, so conversation, that's the one we title, right? If conversation is equal to the value of 0 or the value of 10, and we can copy this and paste it, set character 2 to normal if these are equal to 0 or 10. So you can see how easy, if you base everything off the first character, how easy that works, right? 1, so back to 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then that's where you could have some information or whatnot come up. Very simple interaction. You can customize. I'll show you one last thing in a couple of minutes here. So if you want to customize this thumb, let's use the AI assistant again. I'm going to go insert image. Let's see how well this works here. We're going to go hard hat. I'm going to say yellow hard hat. Oops. And I'm going to use that same editorial style. We'll do a square, and I'll tell you why we're going to do a square, because we were going to crop it to a circle. Oh, this actually works perfectly. We're going to insert that. So we've got this here. We're going to crop this to a circle. So let's, oops, I'm not going to crop it. It's a perfect square. So what we're going to do is we're going to do it in the shape. Hold on. All right, there's our circle here. So now I want this to be my thumb. So let me show you what we can do. And if you want to put an outline on here, you can do that. Let's make it a black outline. And then what I'm going to do here is I'm going to save this as a picture. So right click, and we're going to save as picture here. Where is it at here? Export, save as picture. And you can see I already did one. So I'll just duplicate this one here, save. And then we're going to close this out. All right. Now I'm going to come to this thumb, and I'm going to go to format, and we're going to go to thumb fill. We're going to use a picture. We're going to fill it with a thumb. Let's choose the hard hat. And then we've got our thumb here. Let me get rid of this one here. We've got our hard hat. I'm going to get rid of the border. So no outline. And I'm going to get rid of the border on this as well. We'll just go ahead, no fill, and we'll do no outline. So now we get this hard hat, and you can play around with the size of that here. Right, so we'll just do this. So now I created a little hard hat image for my thumb track, right? And this could be a toolbox, or maybe it's a dump truck, or whatever you want it to be. So a really simple interaction. Wasn't hard to build. Uses the sliders, simple characters. The main thing with this is that there's a lot of cool little tips in here. You can see I can leverage the AI assistant and also the simple construction. And then once you got this framework down, you can quickly replicate this. You know, if I didn't have to explain it, I could probably build something like this in about 5 minutes. And then you can swap out characters, and you can swap out those states on the variables pretty easily. Hopefully that helps. I'm going to go ahead and pass that off to whoever's next.